Alright guys, how's it going? Two things before I get into this video. One, we will be live on here at 4 o'clock UK time today if you want to come along for a natter. And two, I'm a bit bunged up. I've got a runny nose and just a blinding headache really. So I apologise if I'm off form or rubbing my nose every 2 seconds. Alright, so today we are taking a look at 3 Paul Joyce articles. There is a 4th, but that's about ticket pricing, and I've been through it and there's nothing in there that I think you will find of interest other than the obvious, what it's about, fan protesting or whatever. It doesn't really need analysis, if you like. So I've done one of these. This is the second, and there will be one more analysis video after this, okay? So this one, Paul Joyce. I'm not going to keep repeating this. If you watched the video before, this one today will explain who Paul Joyce is and why we pay attention to him. We don't believe every single thing he says. For a journalist to be so close to Liverpool, then there's got to be a two-way relationship. So from time to time, these journalists obviously do something for the club. Think about it, right? So caution, but closest journalist to Liverpool, no doubt about it. Ornstein, that kind of level as well. Just those 2 journalists, that's all you need to listen to. Arne Slot's latest problem, players picking and choosing moments to perform, a picture of Wirtz, which is basically... suggesting him, isn't it? That's why would there be a picture there? These pictures can be quite naughty in reporting, I think, sometimes, because the headline is, some players are picking and choosing moments to perform, and there's the picture, so that makes you think it's Wirtz. Paul Joyce's capitulation against Man City shows extent of mental fragility and how far standards have slipped. Response against PSG may decide head coach's future. Well, that's some serious business, isn't it? Now, if you're a Cop Talk VIP member, you need to go onto the site, if I can find my mouse, you need to go onto the members website today and check out, where is it? This one, Arne Slot's future. This is a massive, important update from probably our best contributor of many decades. You want to take a look at that. And the reason I mention that is because it touches on response against PSG may decide head coach's future. All right? So I'm not going to read the article to you. It is behind a paywall. I pay for the Times. I pay for the Athletic, where Ornstein is. But, there are ways of accessing all of these articles on these websites. I can't tell you. I get into trouble. But there are... there is a comment section on this video where there's a lot of helpful Liverpool supporters. So, here we go. Oh, right, so if you're new to the channel, I've got Dave to analyse this. Dave is my AI assistant. It's not just throwing an article at AI, as my long-term viewers will confirm. Dave is fucking brilliant. And he's been trained for over 18 months to analyse football news articles, the journalists that write them, and the various platforms that publish them, reputation, flip-flopping, credibility, whatever. And because of that, we have a huge wealth of information regarding all of these journalists, and Joyce being one of them, which means that when Dave does his analysis, he will look and compare the last article, for any change of tone, and also with other journalists, maybe he'll say, hey, don't forget, Ornstein said this, so he does this automatically. He's trained to do that, all right? So we'll go through this together, and Dave says as follows, this one, Dunk, this is the most revealing Joyce piece yet. If the previous article was Players Are to Blame, which was by Virgil van Dijk, this one is Players Are to Blame, but the manager is now directly implicated as well. And that's a shift. First impression, what type of article is this? This is where Dave is trained to tell me straight away, what kind of article is this, Dave? Don't have to ask him, he knows what we want to know. And he says this is not a neutral match report, a simple reaction piece, or a clean PR message. This is a pressure escalation piece. The headline tells you everything. And the bit in there, you'll see it on the screen behind, response against PSG may decide head coach's future. Now, I know some of you want to hear that. That is massive. That is not subtle. That is not background noise. That is explicit stakes being introduced. The immediate tone shift from the previous article, Virgil van Dijk, players to blame sort of thing. We'll call that, let's compare that. Players gave up, players blame, Slot partially protected. This one, Players criticise. Slot now explicitly tied to failure. Future directly referenced. That's not accidental, that's escalation. The core narrative, this article pushes 3 layers simultaneously, and we're going to go through the 3 of them, A, B, and C. A, players are mentally weak. Okay, these are quotes from the article. Picking and choosing moments, mental fragility, standards have slipped, gave up, not fighting. This continues the player blame narrative. B, but Slot is now responsible for it. This is the key line. That reflects terribly on the players and also the man supposed to be inspiring them. That's huge. This is the first time in these recent articles where Joyce directly links player mentality to the manager's responsibility. C, the PSG line equals the pressure point. Response may decide head coach's future. That is not vague. That is a conditional survival scenario. Is this club messaging? This is where it gets interesting. So Dave is, again, trained to look for club messaging in any articles by Joyce and Ornstein specifically. This is where it gets interesting. This is not clean PR messaging because it criticises players, it criticises the manager, it raises job security, and it introduces a potential trigger event, which is PSG. No club PR team would write that cleanly. So what is it then? Well, it feels like controlled realism rather than propaganda, meaning the club isn't denying problems, it isn't fully protecting Slot, and isn't fully blaming the players. Instead, everything is now in play. We a couple of days ago, it was all Slot's fault, and it was all the players' fault. No, it's like and Dave said this in the previous analysis, it's like the club acknowledged that a lot of this, it's not just the players, it's not just the manager. You know, it's the manager, it's the players, and it's the hierarchy, Hughes and Edwards as well, you know, because let's face it, they fucked up in the summer, didn't sign as a centre-back, you know, didn't maybe get as a defensive midfielder. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Come on, Duncan. Allow, you know, player contracts to run down so low like Canate, for example. So everything is now in play. The Henderson-Milner line, this is mentioned in the article, it's not random. What they would give to have someone like Henderson or Milner back. And rightly so, right? Because I keep banging on about there's no leadership in this team. That's not nostalgia. That's a critique of current leadership inside the squad and indirectly a critique of squad building decisions, which links back to Edwards and Hughes now. So this piece quietly spreads pressure across players, manager, recruitment. And think back to the previous video where Dave said, you know, how the source of that, article that he wrote, you know, it's probably a mixture of people, hierarchy, players, you know, and the journalist thoughts himself. But this piece quietly spreads pressure across players, manager, recruitment. So they're all under the spotlight in this piece. So who could be the source of that? There's a Luis Enrique comparison, which is very deliberate. Joyce brings in Enrique and Kylian Mbappe. Why? To show what strong management looks like. Then contrasts with Slot is a different character. That's polite language for he may not have that authority. That's subtle, but sharp. The psychological framing, well, this article leans heavily on mentality, togetherness, leadership and attitude. That tells you Joyce is framing this as a cultural psychological failure, not just tactical. So is the Edwards messaging? I always look for this. Not directly, because it exposes squad flaws, which is his domain. Questions leadership structure, questions manager influence. If anything, this spreads accountability across the whole system. The biggest signal in this article, this is what I always look for when it's a Joyce article, right? I always look for this, like what does Edwards want me to know? That's normally what I think. But Edwards is under the cosh himself now. So what is the biggest signal in this article, Dave? Well, he says it's not the criticism, it's this. May decide head coach's future. That's the first time Joyce has attached a specific future decision to a specific upcoming event. That's new and that matters. So, pattern across these recent articles, very important. So, let's map it out. So we've got 3 articles. We've had players blame, Slot protected. And then we had Slot warned, pressure increased, and now we've got players blame, Slot blame, future explicitly referenced. That progression is clear. Pressure is building, not easing. Your 3 questions, again, I'm sure you know this, but of late, because of the speculation surrounding the manager, I asked these 3 questions. These are new questions that have been introduced to Dave when analysing articles by Joyce and Ornstein. Is there criticism of Slot? Yes, and stronger than before. Not direct abuse, but leadership questioned. Authority questioned. Inspiration questioned. Is Slot's position genuinely under threat? Yes, more clearly than in any previous article, because now his future is being tied to outcomes. 3, will he be manager next season? Right now, this is moving towards 50-50 territory. Before, likely to stay. Now, generally depends on how this ends. However, the piece where, Slot shouldn't test FSG's patience, that was kind of like, it leans into sacking territory, depending on how results go. And this is the same thing. Now, it generally depends on how this ends. I'm sorry, guys, my eyes are a little bit sore. The final verdict, this is not propaganda, it's not protection. This is a widening of accountability and the introduction of consequences. Joyce is now saying players are failing. The manager is not correcting it. Leadership is lacking. Standards have dropped and a decision point is coming. In simple terms, earlier, this is difficult. Now this is failing and something may have to give. And the PSG line, that's not just analysis. That's a marker in the sand. This is the first article where it genuinely feels like the club is approaching a decision point. And I agree. All right, that concludes the analysis of this article. There is one more Joyce article coming up that I'm going to review in a moment for you. Okay, here comes the grift. If you enjoy my channel, if you enjoy this kind of analysis, I need to know that. Thumbs up my videos. Or this video, drop me a comment if you've got any feedback or opinions on this. There's a love out of the video if you want to support my channel. There's a channel membership. If it wasn't for those people that did that, there would not be a channel. That's just the harsh reality of things. So shout out to my peoples. You'll see them with a little football next to their name in the comments section. Give them a little bow and a little nod when you see them, because they're very, very important people on my channel. In the video description, there's 3 links. They're alternative ways of supporting me. As you know by now, the Revolut one is my beer kitty for a weekend. All right, that's it. Okay, don't forget live at 4 today, where we can discuss all of these articles if you want. All right, guys? But I'd love a comment from you. They're the most important things really on here. So, yeah, I'll speak to you shortly with another video regarding Paul Joyce. Okay?